This anime follows the life of a boy named Takashi, and he ends up acquiring the strongest abilities after saving a girl from an evil group of wizards. And at the beginning of the anime we see Takashi living with his completely disturbed and dysfunctional family, and they hate the fact that he has to go to school every day, even during holidays, just to not be around them. His luck is that his girlfriend, Kurumi, always accompanies him to school, where they are members of a club sword fighting. On a normal day, when Takashi is about to enter his dojo normally, an injured girl falls from the next room. He panics and goes to help her, taking her to the school infirmary. When the girl begins to recover her senses, she starts to cry, telling her brother not to leave her while hugging Takashi. He is confused, but gratefully accepts the hug, even though he already has a girlfriend, until the girl herself opens her eyes and mistakes him for a pervert, as she is the one who hugged him. So she pulls out a pistol. I say how crazy lyrics. She gets nervous and shoots him with her magic weapon. Luckily her aim is horrible, and that's why she only grazes him. She breaks down after finding out that Takashi brought her here to help, and introduces herself as Mui Aiba, the girl who came to steal him from his girlfriend. Out of nowhere Takashi notices a glowing smoke around her and asks what hell that's it, and she immediately apologizes, because if he can see the smoke it means he's become a magic user. Suddenly a black butterfly enters the room and she shoots it down, saying that this was a magical drone sent by her brother who wants to kill her. Mui now wants to run away like Takashi, but then her super nervous brother appears with his gang. Takashi tries to escape using the window, but they freeze it using their magic. The guy with the gang sword wants to fight with them, and Takashi takes out his bamboo sword to face him, and oddly enough he does very well in the fight, blocking his attacks and even managing to stab him in the chest. The big guy's fragile ego ends up being hurt because of this, and he attacks Takashi recklessly and pushes him back, ending up cutting his bamboo sword. At that exact moment Takashi's hidden powers awaken, and he can see a future movement of his enemy. He dodges the sword strike, jumping and hitting the big guy's hand to disarm him. The giant sword flies at Mui, who barely manages to dodge it but narrowly dodges, and Takashi, seeing the broken window, takes the opportunity to escape, taking Mui with him. They hide in a pillar, where Mui tells Mui Takashi that she is a mage, just like the other people who are behind her. After that she apologizes and says that she turned him into a wizard. When using her ability around him, Takashi takes advantage of the situation and consoles her, saying it's okay, come here, the father is single. So Mui opens her mouth and starts to tell how this anime works. She says that most wizards are feared by normal people, so they keep their identities secret, and her life changed completely when one day her brother decided that he would join a radical group called Ghost Trailer, which aims to eradicate all normal humans. At that moment Takashi's girlfriend, Kurumi, arrives at the scene, and before she could know what was happening, the big guy and the nerd from the gang arrive to settle the score. Takashi quickly borrows his girlfriend's sword and asks she tells her to run away with Mui, but the nerd suddenly attacks the girls and Mui can't shoot him, so Kurumi hits him with a heavy book. Have you always wanted to draw your favorite anime characters but think you don't have the talent? Here on our channel we have the perfect solution for you. We formed an exclusive partnership to teach you all how to draw anime quickly and easily. Even if you think you don't have the talent for it, you will learn from Noah Williams, one of the greatest experts in the world of anime. Drawing anime has never been so simple, and it doesn't matter if you are a beginner or already have some experience. From the first class you will see the results. You will learn very quickly. The link will be in the video description, and only you can access and learn today. This makes the nerd furious, and he opens his suitcase full to the assassins and sets them to attack the girls. A few seconds later he realizes that he had forgotten about the spell that prohibited fights between wizards who used an astral agency in the ordinary world. This anti-fighting spell ends up coming into effect because he attacked Mui, which causes the nerd to feel unimaginable pain, and then the circle of black magic absorbs his power in life. Very close to her, Kurumi came into contact with magic due to the attack, ended up transforming into a magician, just like Takashi boy, and her power is very interesting. It will make for some great plots in the beach episode. After these beautiful scenes, a delinquent named Ida appears, holding a girl from the group of evil wizards. He says that she attacked out of nowhere when he was going to tutoring classes, so he acted with common sense and gave her a good beating, and when he entered in the scene he quickly looks at Kurumi and immediately asks when she got an implant. It's at this moment that his hand starts to burn because of his newly acquired magical powers. The big guy was patiently waiting for them to enjoy the screen time, but now he gets very angry and attacks Takashi, pushing him out. Takashi uses his prediction magic to dodge a powerful blow before predicting its movement through a cloud of dust and dodging again. He tells the man to give up, but the guy refuses and attacks him. However, Mui was ready to help and uses a powerful spell that ends up being a basic flashbang, which has the power to blind the enemy, giving Takashi the chance to land a precise blow to his enemy's throat, which spits out his lunch, and says goodbye to the world. After that Mui tells everyone to go with her and takes them into a parallel world inside a mirror. She says that this is the world in ruins, which in this case is the world of wizards, and Takashi is incredulous at everything he sees. The world in ruins is a kind of copy of the ring, where everything was destroyed due to the war. Then Mui takes them all to his wizarding school, also known as the Japanese Hogwarts, and if there is a school there is a principal, and the principal's name here is Momoka, and she is 15 years old and has 30 years of experience in making her students happy. She tells the new wizards about the great magical war that happened 186 years ago between the Ghost Trailer and the rest of the mages. It turns out that Kazuma, the leader of the Ghost Trailer, is literally the Voldemort of their world, and he used a god-level spell called the Last Recugin to kill all humans, but the other great wizards opposed him and faced him using their divine powers to split the world in two. Only one of the worlds was destroyed by the Last Recugin, and that world is now called a ruined world, and the world that Takashi and everyone lived in was the second world. Fortunately, the two groups of enemies reached reached a mutual agreement that they would continue their war only in the ruined world, and whoever wins would gain control of the world of the living. And to ensure that this agreement prevails, the highest level wizard called, or casts a spell called Gift on the world of Vio, so that the wizards could not fight using ancestral magic there. To make everything worse, all the humans who are attacked by mages end up becoming mages in the process, and after the end of the First World War, the leader of the Phantom Trailer disappeared, and no one has any idea where he was. However, some people believe that he was in a kind of deep sleep after having used a gigantic piece as last Ryukyujin. After explaining the whole story, Momoku offers the 3 new wizards the option of staying at the Japanese Hogwarts and learning about magic, or just give up magic and return to his world. Obviously, having all his memories erased, Takes thinks quickly and decides to stay in this destroyed world to help Amui reunite with his brother. Ida, on the other hand, believes that this is all an adventure, so he has no problem staying there. Kurumi was initially hesitant, but she also decides to come to the School of Magic to be by her boyfriend's side. Momoku then puts all of them in Class C in their first year of high school, and also demotes Amui to Class C due to her reckless actions. The next day the class begins and the teacher tells the students about ancestral magic, which is unique to each individual. There are 6 types of ancestral magic, and they can be manifested through artifacts called aspects. For Kurumi, her aspect is her lip balm. For Ida, it's her cool skull ring, and Takes doesn't have any looks. The professor then examines him and discovers that he has the famous evasive magic, and after discovering this, he sends him with Amui to go buy a weapon. In the store they meet a cheerful shopkeeper who takes them to an armory. Takes initially is surprised, but then asks for a weapon with a katana, as he already knows how to use it. The shopkeeper gives him a debut sword with a magic circle in its scabbard. It was once used by a great wizard in war, and now he has retired. Takes asks who it was, and the guy says it was his mother, and she likes it. That's exactly what I said. The logist continues to inform, saying that this magical sword has an evasive magic written on it, and if he is compatible with it, his power will increase many times over, but if he is not, he may lose his power. Your hand. So as Takes wonders what he should do, the logistician suddenly attacks him, and he avoids and blocks his attacks, which activates the sword's magic. The sword reacts to Takes' magic and begins to absorb it to display its special feature. Then a cartridge for inserting bullets comes out of the sword's hilt. Moments before Takes falls to his knees due to exhaustion, the shopkeeper praises his endurance, while explaining that the weapon is like a cannon sword called Twilight, and he can use bullets loaded with other people's magic to transform his sword. Takes then takes the 3 bullets that the shopkeeper gave him and accepts the sword, saying that it will blow someone's head off. Hunting and cute sword. Soon he loves it, and they are back in the classroom, which is completely burned thanks to magic of Ida, who got out of control. But the teacher says this is not unusual in his class, and the class continues. The next day, the trio goes to the training camp to learn some combat skills, and Takes has difficulty controlling his sword, and Ida also cannot use his magic correctly. Kurumi ends up being the most skilled among them, but so far she's only managed to get her magic to transform her into an only girl, which results in Takes becoming jealous of all the boys looking at her, and he has to deal with jealous, while she is afraid that Ida will explode while practicing Ama. And seeing Kurumi's power, she comes to the conclusion that it is time to create a big plot and takes her with her to swimming class. And in the locker room she offers her tickets on a letter to the man whose love predictions were 100% accurate, and the girls are interested as they think that Takes might abandon Kurumi and be with them, but later they blush when they come across him and with Ida as they talk about their dinner plans. Some girls walk past them and insult Amo and her brother, calling her the traitor's sister. Amo gets up after hearing this, and instead of attacking them, she runs away. After that, the green-haired professor explains to everyone about communities, which are groups of like-minded wizards. There are 7 powerful communities in the world of magic, and their leader is the Wizard Bracer, which in this case is the group that defends peaceful coexistence with human beings. And the Ghost Trailer was not among the 7 communities, and was hated by all the others, especially Wizard Bracer. Amo and her brother and the girls before them were part of the Wizard Bracer, and as Amo's brother had joined the terrorist community, everyone consequently ended up hating Amo and calling her a traitor, the traitor's sister. Takes feels really bad for his mother because he remembers that his family hates him the same way. Later, they go to class, where Takes discovers that some boys secretly took photos of Kurumi, and since he is her boyfriend, he confiscates all the photos, and while he was confiscating the photos, his master ended up hearing about he is in a relationship. This made her quite sad if she ran away, almost crying. Takes felt really bad for her, and this ends up making his jealous girlfriend insecure. In the end, Kurumi herself goes to the fortune teller, where the woman tells her that Takes will not be faithful to her, and that her love life is practically over if she turns the tables and runs away crying. Later, her mother will look for her to apologize for stealing her boyfriend's first kiss. But first of all, she clarifies saying that it was just an accident, but she loved being naughty. Kurumi then runs to Takes and kisses him as soon as she sees him, but he stops her. She asks him why he didn't want to kiss his girlfriend, since he already did it with his mother, and he asks with great sadness if they can't stop pretending to be a couple now. These words shock and hurt the poor girl, who ends up ignoring Takes for a week, and then someone proposes to her. Thinking that she is single, Kurumi rejects him, but the boy approaches her from behind and touches her shoulder, which brings back memories of her trauma. She falls to the floor. Takes arrives from behind to rescue her, and threatens to kill the boy if he approaches her again. It's at this moment that Takes remembers that Kurumi was the most beautiful thing since she was born, and when she started to grow up, boys started going crazy about her. And after a very bad experience with a stalker, she asked him to act as her boyfriend to keep the boys away, and he accepted because he was her best friend. This created problems between Takes and his younger brother, Kako, who really liked Kurumi, and the boy was very furious when he found out that his beloved had been stolen by his brother. Everything would be resolved if Takes opened his mouth and talked about about how all this happened, but he preferred to leave his brother harboring great anger towards him. And so you can see how a woman can lead a bad person's life well. Because of Kurumi, Takeshi and Gakko ended up getting into a sinister argument, and after an argument while they were walking towards the house, Takeshi lightly touched his brother. The boy fell forward, and a speeding car came wanting to send him to another world. However, he did not die, and was simply disabled for the rest of his life. Now Gakko still believes that his brother pushed him, and that's why he holds his grudge a lot. When Takeshi finishes remembering his entire story, Kurumi asks him to return their relationship to its previous condition. After all, she needs him very much, and he agrees. Then she realizes that he has lewd photos of her body in his pocket, and they take it away. But let him keep just one, so he can practice his sword skills at night. The next day Takeshi and Ida are training together, and Ida tries to fill one of the storage bullets with his fire magic, but he can't do it very well, and Takeshi can't manifest the cartridge either. Soon Kurumi comes running to them, and says that Mui is missing, and that she left a map behind. Before reporting a fact to the teacher, who concludes that she was looking for her brother the whole time, but the school cannot help him at the moment, as the principal is away. Takeshi says if the school doesn't help Mui, he will help her himself. His friends say this is a stupid idea, but Takeshi insists that he really wants to save Mui. After all, if it weren't for Kurumi, they would be developing a secret plot with Mui. Upon hearing the beautiful words of a man in love, they decide to help him, and find him at a gate where they hide and wait for the guards to pass. They follow the guards to the mirror, and emerge inside a protective barrier into the ruined world. A veiled woman sitting on a throne introduces herself to a gate supervisor, and says that the girl they are looking for did not come through the gate. She tells them to return, as a war is raging outside, when suddenly there is an explosion in the sky and a ball of black paint stains the barrier. The black ink soon turns into a wizard who is reduced to ashes by his enemy. Kurumi is terrified, and grabs hold of Takeshi. Meanwhile Mui is not too far away from them, and the day before she visited the fortune teller to ask about her brother's location, and the fortune teller informed where the guy is. Arriving at the place, her nervous brother tells her that this was a trap prepared by the fortune teller, who is a member of that terrorist organization, the horrible name, the Phantom Trailer, the desire to knock, and her coughing from that name. And now her older brother intends to take her to this living organization. His sister tries to remind her of the past, where she called him Diana-sama, and he was full of terror. However, he refuses to have any memory of her and grabs her by the collar. She then tells him that she gave him a gift, which in this case are the gloves he is wearing, and his memories return in small parts, but by then he was already absorbing her magic to defeat her, so he finishes of draining all her magic. Takeshi and his friends arrive at the scene, and Takeshi gets angry seeing his future girlfriend on the floor, and attacks Tsuga, asking him how he could hurt his little sister. Said the guy who pushed his brother to get run over. Well, Tsuga doesn't care about any of that, and uses magic to increase his powers. Once done, he flies high, and then uses his ice spears against Takeshi, who dodges and blocks them with the help of his prediction, but he is not fast enough and is hit by the last spear. Tsuga decides to trap Takeshi with his ice castle, but Ito pushes him out of the way, and ends up being frozen. Takeshi is unable to free him, but Ida has the chance to act calmly. He remembers how Takeshi saved his sister from being kidnapped, so he owes him a big helping hand. Takeshi dodges Tsuga's attacks, and when he reaches the Mui and stands in front of her, the nervous guy realizes that he is just facing a beginner who doesn't even know how to use his power, so he decides to end it in a big way, using your hail bullets. Takeshi blocks them all with his sword, and sends some flying towards Ida to free him from the ice prison. He then carries the Mui to his companions, and tells Ida to charge his magic bullet, as this is the only way to fight against such a powerful enemy. That said, Takeshi runs to face Tsuga again, who descends from the sky to fight him. Takeshi dodges his ice attacks, and tries to overpower him with his ice abilities, but Tsuga doesn't carry his sword just to demand it. He pushes him back again, and uses his hail bullet again, and Takeshi's weak shield cannot protect him from the powerful attack, and as he is lying injured on the ground, the girls protect him, and Ida is about to finish loading the bullet to 100%, and Takeshi focuses on removing the cartridge from his sword. It is then that Tsuga attacks again with his ice spears, and the girls block this attack with their shields. Ida manages to load the bullet and throws it to Takeshi as soon as he manifests his cartridge. He carries his bizarre weapon, which now transforms into a flaming sword, and when the girls reach their limits, Takeshi uses a powerful attack called Explosive Fog. I would call it Devil's Sneeze, much better, you name it. The explosive mist destroys Tsuga's attack and explodes him. He falls to the ground, and the Muika will have him, but Takeshi says the battle is not over yet. Suddenly, the white-haired butler named Kappei emerges from the smoke and praises the talent of the new mages. This done, and he teleports to the ghost trailer headquarters as Tsuga. Later, Takeshi and the gang return to the school, where Principal Momoka is taking stock of her recent battle. She doesn't leave her role as director behind and lectures everyone, saying that the punishment for anyone who breaks the rules at this school is 1,000 fingerprints from the apothecary. Lucky for them, her finger is a little crooked, so she just asks them to promise not to try to do anything reckless from now on. But Takeshi refuses. He says he can't do that. After all, 1,000 fingerprints at the apothecary is a very interesting proposition. He also says he is sure that Mui will not stop looking for his brother. Then he says he will always help despite the danger. Momoka really likes his attitude and says that he will soon give 1,000 fingerprints to the apothecary, but before that she wants him to prove his worth by participating in an ancestral magic exam, which always takes place in the middle of the year. The exam will be held in a building created with illusion magic, and if Takeshi and his group manage to pass the exams, they will receive Momoka's permission to go after Tsuga. Takeshi asks about the 1,000 fingerprints at the apothecary, and she tells the boy to shut up and tell you about it. After a few months, the exam day arrives, and all the students are divided into 4 different groups according to the magic they carry. Now Takeshi and the other magicians who contain evasive magic need to reach the final part of a building in a city of illusions. Avoiding obstacles and traps, the students students run towards the central building and come across their first obstacle in the form of spiders with cannons. The spiders surround him and start shooting, but Take somehow survives the first wave. As he moves towards the goal, he out of nowhere sees Waigami and wonders what he is doing here. After all, Waigami is supposed to be part of Tsuga's gang, so Take confronts him. So, Waigami says he's just here to take the exam and refuses to remember Take or that he was ever part of the ghost trailer. In fact, he reveals that he was kidnapped by the wizard bracers and his memories were wiped so that he didn't remember the time when he hunted little girls in defenses. Later, Take comes across a rhino which chases him through the city, and just as he is about to trample it, a glitch in the matrix saves him. In fact, this disturbance was caused by the members of the ghost trailer who infiltrated the academy field to wreak havoc during the exam. The city of illusions begins to disintegrate because of their dark magic, and the ground beneath Take's feet disappears and he falls. But he makes a soft landing using floating magic and now finds himself in a labyrinthine garden on Kurumi's floor. A little away from him, a stone golem attacks Kurumi, but Waigami takes action and saves her before destroying the golem. She is shocked to see him and then realizes that he doesn't remember anything that happened on Earth. However, he was hit when he tried to save her, and this caused him to be withdrawn from the exam. After some time, Take and his friends get together, and everyone is shocked to learn that Take and Kurumi have become a kind of good Waigami, an evil guy with no memories of when he was evil and now a good person. They decide to stop the gossip and focus on getting out of this level before it too falls apart. They start looking for their way through this labyrinth garden, and when they are close to reaching the goal, a large stone golem falls very close to them, and Take prepares to fight with it, but just one blow from the golem makes him fly. A powerful fire shot has no effect on him, and Wida doesn't even have time to concentrate her magic to attack the golem. Take then tells them to use a fire sword combo attack again and asks Wida that I gave a loaded bullet. He throws the bullet at him, but his aim is also horrible and he is the direct shot. To save time, Mui and Kurumi divert the golem's attention while Take goes to catch the bullet. The golem is about to crush the girls, but Wida blocks the attack with her fire punch, and at this point in the story Take already has his sword charged. He then uses the stone golem's explosion button and destroys it with just one hit. A letter flies out of the remains of the golem and reaches Cardamant village, who is also a high-ranking member of the ghost trailer, a piranha. She was here to wreak havoc, but now that she's seen the Twilight Sword in action, she's satisfied. The next day, Kurumi reminds Take of his promise to visit a shrine on his family's New Year's Day, but he doesn't want to, which makes her angry. She runs away crying, and while Mui tries to fix things between her and Take, she realizes that it would be better for her if she didn't help them both. After all, her heart is beating for Take. A few days later, Kurumi returns to her home in the world of the living, and Take trains alone with Mui. During a brief break, Mui becomes delirious due to her fever, which gives us great images to lose the monetization of a channel. Editor: very large censorship, please no. The biggest ear can cover the entire screen. She pulls him into her bed, and they do more than just cuddle under the blanket. Soon she falls asleep and Take has the chance to leave, but the moment ends up being horrible as Kurumi arrives in the room at that exact moment, and she is shocked and furious with her cheating boyfriend and kicks him out of the room and then does the same. Even with poor Mui, Kurumi then starts to stand at the door, and Mui comes back and runs to call Take to take care of his girlfriend, who ended up turning into a baby when her emotions took over her mind. Outside, Take is sitting nearby from the source, and he refuses to go back to Kurumi, telling Mui that that piece of shit isn't his real girlfriend. He tells her about the act he agreed to do to protect Kurumi from her pursuers, but he wants to stop all this nonsense, and this fight should be a perfect chance for that. He almost reveals that his sword wants a girl with hair black, but he remembers that this is a Japanese anime, so he must cultivate several girls at the same time, and it doesn't add up. As time passes, things continue to be strange between Take and Kurumi, and one day Kurumi sees Igami in the library and goes there to thank him, and Igami acts like a real man, and he consoles her, saying that it's normal to have problems in your relationship, and Kurumi runs out because of the embarrassment. On the way, she ends up bumping into Take, and things get strange between them again. A week after the exam results are announced, and Momoka gives Take and his friends permission to go after Tsuga as they performed great on the test. She then gathers them in her office to lead the extraction mission, and gave Mui a bullet that contains binding magic, which will be useful in capturing his brother without hurting him. What this binding magic is for, Momoka didn't explain. Don't blame me, blame the author. Then she creates a door in any place with her magic, and at the same time a group of monitors push an Igami and the girl called Rotaru from the ghost trailer into the room. None of them remember their past, but they are forced to follow Momoka's orders. Without understanding much of the situation, they just follow the school nurse and the monitors to the door. Take and his friends also join them, and everyone leaves the world in ruins. Soon a magic circle forms in the sky, and a car appears from him. Tsuga and the white-haired man called Keepin got out of the car to exchange hostages between the ghost trailer and the guys, and how many names I don't even remember. It's at that moment that Igami finally understands that they were just hostages from the academy, so they could get Tsuga back. Rotaru fights, not wanting to go, but Igami tells her to calm down and follow him. Before they leave, Kurumi thanks him for saving her, and he tells her to be strong. He gives her a goodbye gift that makes her cry. The hostages are exchanged, and Keepin tells Igami and Rotaru to get in that car and that he will transport them back to their base, while Keepin wants to have a meeting with Momoka since it's been a few days since which he touches her thighs. Then the two go to a less crowded place to fight. Not only that, but now Tsuga has to deal with Takashi and his friends and extras. He uses his magic to increase his powers, but is faced with the teamwork of his enemies, Mui, and the two monitors. Get ready. While the nurse reinforces Takashi and Wida with her fortification spell, Tsuga attacks them with his ice spears, but the nurse blocks his attack with a wall of water. The two monitors surround him and create a giant key again that they use to open the floor. Tsuga falls falls into the bottomless tax but manages to hold on thanks to his ice. However, the nurse breaks it, but he escapes from the well and arrives hurting everyone except our main characters. He flies away and Mui chases him. The nurse tells Takashi and Wida to go save her, while Kurumi stays behind to help heal the injured magicians. On the other hand, Muka and Kappei face each other in the sky. While talking about the old times when they both were teammates, Kappei says that she hasn't changed much mentally or physically since high school, and she comments that he changed a lot and became a villain. She says that he is her enemy now and attacks him with her swords of crazy and hacking powers beyond human understanding, but Kappei dodges and increases his magical power using the spells Drive and Liberate, which means these names I don't know. I only know that he uses a powerful spell that comes with a blunt to attack her, but she draws a black diamond shield using her compass and blocks it. Kappei then uses his ancestral magic to dissolve and spreads it throughout the area, stating that everything within his reach will melt in 13 minutes. Muka then decides to deal with him before that time ends, and they clash against each other, creating a huge explosion. They continue fighting and exchanging blows, but Kappei overpowers the girl and attacks continuously to push her back. Muka regains her balance and uses a powerful blow that cuts the bridge below them, but Kappei dodges. The girl then creates a portal and attacks him from behind, but he blocks the attack. However, this was just a decoy as she fires bullets at him from the front, while the compass sword attacks him from the back. And when Kappei jumps to avoid the pincer attack, the sword launches a chain that grabs him. Muka quickly throws him into her magic bread filled with high-quality TNT, and Kappei is thrown into the darkness. She thinks he must be dead now, but his magic is still damaging her body, so she realizes he's still alive. Suddenly a fountain breaks out of the sea, and Kappei comes out of it, saying that she should have made the walls in her basement stronger. He knew how her magic worked, saying that she could only create doors to places that really exist. He suspected that the room she threw him into was at the bottom of the ocean, and his hunch was completely right. Meanwhile, his dissolving spell was melting clothes and skin, and there were only a few minutes left for her to be completely destroyed. And as Kappei was dying to talk to Muka a little more, he tells her that their leader Kazuma will soon wake up from her sleep and then reveal her darkest secrets to everyone, saying that all her photos will be leaked since only Kazuma has the password. The girl is shocked to hear this and uses her ultimate magic to end Kappei once and for all, and her ultimate spell consists of creating a portal to outer space high in the sky, which sucks everything into it. If she were smart, she would have watched Hunter vs. Hunter and would have copied Phaeton's technique. That shit even killed an ant. Kappei uses a barrier to resist the suction, believing that Muka will die because of her dissolving spell before she can transform into a space traveler. However, a car is sucked while he is laughing and takes him into space with him. As soon as the fight ends and the portal closes, Muka loses consciousness and falls into the ocean. And while this fight was happening, on the other side, Takashi, Amui, and Wida had already reached the 7 of the Ice Age, created by the expansion of Tuga's domain. Wida tries to break through the ceiling using fire, but this does not cause any damage, and before he can launch another attack, the ice castle's defense mechanisms are activated and ice spears are launched at them from all sides. As he dodges the attacks, Takashi tells Wida that they will use the fire sword Kumpo again. He arms the sword, but this time the attack explodes in his face and the sword flies away, and Wida apologizes, saying that he must have put a lot of force into the bullet. Takashi jumps to get his sword while dodging the ice spears, but when he reaches the sword, Suka freezes his mother. He means his hand, and Wida comes to help, but he keeps slipping. At that moment, Amui decides that she is a strong, independent woman who doesn't need a man and goes headlong into the fight against her brother. Takashi shouts at her to wait as Wida patiently melts his frozen hand, but as Amui ignored him, he tells Wida to melt the ice on his hand soon. Upstairs, Amui comes across Tsuka and asks if he is really happy in the ghost trailer. She tells him that her organization has a horrible name, totally out of fashion, and it doesn't suit him. She gets emotional, saying that his brother can't be part of a gang with such a horrible name, but he attacks without even warning, and when the trapped Tsuga finishes her off, a huge explosion rocks his castle, and Takashi and Wida ride in a burning pillar to reach Tsuga and attack him. They quickly protect and heal Amui, who continues using the power of speech on her brother, saying that he has always been a brother with good taste, and that if he returns to her side he can do whatever he wants with his body. She begins crying while saying this, and Tsuga, also without realizing it, starts to shed tears. Now we don't know if he wanted to be with his sister or if he is overcome with sadness, and to see his sister offering even that to bring him back, he is shocked to realize that he is crying, and then the power the flashback has a lot of effect, and he starts seeing images from their childhood, which makes him go crazy. Takashi and Wida run to face him, and Amui loads his gun with a link bullet. She prepares her final attack, which causes her weapon to grow, and then fires it at her brother, taking the hit and leaving him unconscious. And after a few days, Amui was sleeping next to her brother in the hospital, and is surprised by the rope, and discovers that Tsuga had come out of the coma and recovered his memory. She cries and hugs him while he comforts her, and her friends are there to witness her happy ending. Later that night, Takashi has a nightmare in which he sees himself lying in a sea of blood. Kurumi rushes to save him and cries over his body as a monster emerges from the sea of blood. As the dream ends, Takashi wakes up all pissed and shitted, so he takes a few deep breaths and goes back to sleep without even realizing that he pissed and shit himself, and that his sword is absorbing his magic to evolve from a sword into Kurumi. The next day, Tsuga trains Takashi and his friends, showing how he uses powerful spells. Amui thanks Takashi for helping her rescue her brother, and then takes a step forward. He offers her a chocolate, since today is Valentine's Day. Takashi believed he was the greatest conqueror of all time, until Tsuga arrived and showed him that he also won the same chocolate, and said that he shouldn't consider himself special. Tsuga also teases Amui for liking Takashi, and she takes him away as she is too nervous to do anything more than that. In the afternoon, Kurumi also gives him chocolate, and the chocolate she prepared is the same one Amui gave him, because the two prepared prepared it together. She teases Takashi that he doesn't look very happy, but he doesn't want to tell anyone about the nightmare he had last night. Then, one more night, he has another strange dream in which he is above the clouds, and Amui is happily running towards a giant pudding. She falls into a hole in the clouds, and Takashi wakes up sweating in the cold again. At least this time he didn't shit himself. He goes out to get some fresh air, and finds Tsuga patrolling in the dorm. Upon learning of his nightmares, Tsuga tells Takashi that sometimes bad dreams can be caused by magic, and that he should consult the nurse if he gets really bad. The next morning, Takashi discovers that Amui has neck pain after she tripped and fell down the stairs while chasing someone carrying pudding. He is shocked that his dream has come true, but he continues to feel dizzy and passes out. He wakes up in the nurse's office, who he tells him was just suffering from lack of sleep, and orders him to sleep until she wakes him up. Takashi obeys her, but he has another dream in which he sees Kappei and a strange girl looking at him. The nurse then hears a loud groan and rushes to his side to discover that his sword has transformed into a girl and is absorbing her magic. After being seen, it turns into a sword again, and the nurse tries to wake Takashi up, and as shaking him doesn't work, she hits him very hard, and so the guy finally wakes up. As soon as he wakes up, the nurse scolds him, asking why he didn't come to her sooner, as he was having frequent nightmares, but later she explains that these nightmares were being caused by Twilight, which is the name of his sword, remember? Edward Bella. It turns out that his sword was absorbing his power to manifest in his human form without permission. The nurse says that she was using her energy to cast a nightmare spell on him, which shows the future with 100% accuracy through bad dreams. The nurse tells Takashi to stop keeping the sword next to him in bed when he sleeps, otherwise she will use her magic and kill him. Takashi then asks if he can date his sword, and the nurse says that if he wants to, yes, which makes him think actively, so he doesn't listen to the nurse's words about keeping the sword away from him. And on another night next to the sword of Twilight, he sees a quick slideshow before meeting Twilight in her human form, and news of what he was doing arrives. Mamuka, who calls Takashi to her office the next day to reprimand him. She tells him that he already has Amui and Akurum, and that wishing to date a sword is something a bit bizarre. Because of this, she asks him to obey the nurse, otherwise she will confiscate the sword of Twilight, but Takashi responds that he needs his sword because he wants to see what she wants to show. Naughty. The Mamuka tries to threaten him with pencil, but since the guy doesn't intend to exist, she tells him that he can solve all this in a nice way, which is by fighting the human form of the Twilight inside his dream, and if Takashi manages to control it, he will be able to use it freely, but the Mamuka says that it won't be easy to do that. Takashi even worries a little about the possibility of dying in real life and getting lost in the dream, but the Mamuka promises that she will take care of him and will not let him die. During the night now, the whole team meets in a nurse's office. Everyone intends to support Takashi in his fight against Twilight, even though they know the impure thoughts that Takashi had about Twilight. So, before he starts to sleep, the Mamuka tells Takashi that the relationship he has with his sword is like that of a father and a son, and this discourages him, as he doesn't have that type of fetish. But now it's too late. The nurse casts her sleeping spell on Takashi, while the director casts a protective sphere around them. Takashi opens his eyes and he sees that he is inside a dark building where Mui joins Beach. She leaves him outside, and conveniently, they find themselves on the beach, where Mui's clothes suddenly change into a bigger one. Now that the beach heap comes, she looks at Takashi with judgmental eyes. The wondering is this what he is like well in his dreams. When he is about to pray to say that he thought of much worse things, the girl out of nowhere stumbles and tries to help her, but as expected from a beach episode, he ends up falling on top of her. Mui is embarrassed and runs into the sea. While Takashi sees Twilight sitting on a swing, he runs to her, but the scene is quickly back and Mui is back in her normal clothes. This being the case, the shortest beach heap I've ever seen. Out of nowhere, Takashi sees a hologram of his mother, who apologizes while he tells her something about his brother. After that, Takashi is heavily attacked by his younger brother, the Gekko, who takes care of everything bad that happened to his family. The Gekko licks the fallen angel's blade that can pierce anything and then creates wings when using a powerful magical attack. Takashi rushes to protect Mui, but then his brother transforms into Twilight, who tells Takashi that he is not fit to wield it. With that said, she makes a copy of the sword in her hand and gives a copy to Takashi too. He is caught and prepares to fight, saying it's Twilight who will make her obey him, but it's Twilight doesn't agree with that and the attacks, using several powerful spells from its former owner. While it attacks him, Takashi tries to dodge using his evasive magic, but it is too fast and pushes him back. Mui uses a magical shield to protect him, but the magic of the former owner of Twilight breaks the shield and absorbs it. She tells Takashi to give up, and when he refuses, she attacks Mui, slowly absorbing all her magic. Twilight says that the girl will die a slow death as all her magic has been drained, and if Takashi wants to save her, he must leave from the dream right now. Mui doesn't want him to give up, so Twilight attacks. Takashi is injured by her blows, and the girl starts to absorb her magic. He loses his energy and falls to his knees, but then he remembers what Momoka told him about his relationship with Twilight, that he is the father and she is the daughter, and he tries to think about his relationship with his mother, and he remembers that she stopped calling him by his name, and this gives him a solution to his problem. Takashi quickly apologizes to Twilight, and just as she's about to hit him, he says he never gave her a name, and asks if that's what she wanted, and seeing her react to something so simple, Takashi says he will give her a meaning for her existence, and in the end he decided to call it eternal, because he believes that the love between them will last forever. At that exact moment, the girl drops the sword and breaks the ice on them. She sits on the floor and is thrilled to hear her name given by her new master, and then she shines and transforms back into her sword, and while Takashi assures Tamu and runs to hug him, being happy that he made it. After that, time passes quickly. The month of April arrives with force, and now Takashi and Kurumi are on a date to celebrate passing the first year at that useless magic school. They talk about the eternal, which still shows Takashi prophetic dreams sometimes. times, but now she understands when he says he just needs sleeping without having realistic dreams. Soon it's time to welcome new people to the Japanese Hogwarts, and the second-year students Takashi and Kurumi are at the reception. They are shocked when Wida arrives with her younger sister, Futaba, who is going to enroll in magic school. Takashi and Kurumi can't believe that their delinquent friend could have such a beautiful and polite sister, and immediately tell him that he is adopted. When he says that they are related by blood, they move on to the next question and ask how his sister acquired the ability to use magic, and Wida explains that during the holidays, Futaba wanted to go to a boy's birthday party at night, and he refused to leave her there, and they had a heated argument, and he literally exploded in anger and exposed his sister to magic, so now she's like them too. While Wida and Futaba run to the guidance room, Takashi hears a voice that sends shivers down his spine. He looks ahead and is shocked to see his younger brother, Gakko, has signed up for school, and Kurumi can't believe it either. Gakko says that she is now a wizard and promises to explain how she became a wizard later, but in the end it was nothing more than a lie, as he didn't tell anyone how he became a wizard even after many days at this school. One day he and Takashi have an unexpected encounter in the bath, where Gakko is strangely friendly and kind to him. He even offers to wash his back while they talk about their feelings, and Gakko apologizes for the attention between them. He says that the accident wasn't Takashi's fault, and reveals that he was frustrated at having lost most of the function of his leg. That's why he took it out on him. After all, they were already fighting at the time. Takashi forgave his brother for the misunderstanding, and they rekindled a relationship. But suddenly he remembers the nightmare he had with his brother and has some doubts in his mind, and this doesn't stop his high school life from becoming ordinary and peaceful, as they are really getting along well in every session. Training. On one of these days the green-haired teacher calls Takashi. This happened during the break, and the teacher was shocked to discover that Gakko is his younger brother. He warns Takashi that his brother has a radically different vision from his, and advises him to guide the boy in the right direction. Takashi is confused, and realizes that the teacher was definitely hiding something more. That night Takashi has another nightmare, in which he sees a slideshow and predictions, before seeing himself floating in an endless darkness. There he sees the Gakko, who has become older than him, and claims that he stole everything from him. He declares that he is now it's Takashi's turn to be robbed, and he says he will steal Twilight and Kyurem from him. Takashi wakes up screaming and short of breath, but then he notices Kappei sitting in his window. Takashi draws his sword, but Kappei tells him to calm down, as he is not here to fight, but to talk. He tells the boy about a history lesson that is not taught at school. The story began at the end of the 18th century, when a group of wizards decided to dominate other weaker wizards, torturing and executing them. This group of magicians who thought they were superior were Wizard Bracer. Takashi is shocked to learn this. This gossip is good, and Takashi even doubts it, but Kappei is sure that his eyes would not lie to him. He asks the boy if he has ever heard of Kazuma, who is the leader of the Ghost Trailer. Kappei says that he and Kazuma were childhood friends who studied together at the Japanese Hogwarts. Kazuma was incredibly powerful, and that group of oppressive mages wanted to recruit them into their community, but he refused their offer, as he knew they just wanted to use him as a tool of war, but he wanted to live his life accordingly, on your own terms. When Kazuma went to Wizard Bracer's office to reject the offer, the man who answered him told him that his parents were being held hostage, and that if he wanted to see them again, he should join their group. Kazuma was furious, and demanded that his parents be released immediately. But the man, he said this in the contract here first, I signed, then we let go. Enraged by this, he raised his wand fiercely, attacking a man and killing him. When he did this, his parents were murdered, and this led Kazuma to openly rebel against them. With this goal, he created the Ghost Trailer, bringing together only those who thought the same way as him, and who were being threatened by the wizards of the Wizard Bracer. Takiz is shocked to hear the story, and says that Kazuma is a terrorist who killed hundreds of human and normal magicians, which I don't deny, but he says that horrible people have been hunting innocent magicians for thousands of years, and Kazuma simply wanted to end all of this, and it was with this in mind that he began the Great War against the wizards. The war began in Tokyo, where many powerful wizards fought against each other and lost their lives. As the fight was coming to an end, the inner Twilight user faced Kazuma. He used a destructive spell against her, but his friend betrayed him and stepped in front of the attack to save the woman named Yoko. He lost his life, devastating both Yoko and Kazuma. Takes is stunned to hear this part, and everything only gets worse when Kappei asks him if he has ever heard of Nanace Yoko, who used to be his teacher and one of the 15 great wizards at Wizard Bracer. The Takes can't believe it, and says that this is his mother's name, and asks Kappei why he is telling him this story. And he says that their friend who betrayed the Ghost Trailer was in love with Yoko, and that if he hadn't saved her that night, the Takes wouldn't exist. Therefore, Kappei wants the Takes to join them to show his gratitude, and if he can't do that, he wanted at least the Takes to return the sword, because if he isn't able to help them, he doesn't deserve it. This sword at all. The Takes refuses to comply, saying that this is not his problem, and the Kappei says that now that he is a wizard, sooner or later he will have to choose a side. He asks the boy to choose one of two groups, but he refuses to join either of them. Kappei is impressed that he didn't choose the Wizard Bracer, and says that in the end there is still hope for him. He then leaves the room saying that Takit's magic eye is actually an ability called Attack Vision, and that she will show him the truth, and when he learns this he will come to the Ghost Trailer himself. Kappei tells him to ask the Mamuka to confirm the story if he doesn't believe him, and then jumps out the window. The Takit notices him, but wakes up and realizes that he was talking to Kappei in his dream. The next day he goes to the school principal. He asks about the war and his mother's involvement in it. The Mamuka confirms that her mother, Yoko, was one of the 15 great wizards of the Wizard Bracer, and out of nowhere the Takit has a strange vision of something that is going to happen. Then he runs towards his friends, but what none of them knew was that in the Ghost Trailer headquarters Kazuma was opening his eyes for the first time in 17 years. Kappei was sleeping when his boss did this, and after such a reaction the only thing they saw were tears coming down his face. Then Violet Violet predicts the future and says that Kazuma will wake up in stages, but the moment of his complete rebirth is coming. After a month, Kazuma wakes up from his 17-year beauty sleep to find all his devoted allies surrounding him, and the Kapei tells him that their fight is not over yet. After all, the wizard bracer still exists. He asks Kazuma to give them the command to destroy them, and Kazuma runs the start of the Second Great Magic War. At the same time, Takashi is in his class, thinking about the recent nightmares he has had, and he always sees a dragon and wonders what it means. And when Mui comes to call him to the next class, Takashi gets up, and his eye shows him a vision. Then he quickly shouts, telling everyone to get down. Everyone they are confused and silent, but then the classroom windows break, and Kurumi is trapped, hit by the shrapnel. Takashi looks outside, exactly like the one that appears in his dreams. The building shakes, and Ida runs to save Futaba, while Takashi helps Kurumi to get up, and it is exactly at that moment that they discover that magicians in red costumes have infiltrated the academy campus and are attacking students everywhere. Takashi worries about Gekko and runs to get them and Kurumi, while Mui goes to check on Tsuga. On the way, she comes across a group of mages in red, and they attack her from both sides, but her brother appears at the last moment and saves her and then defeats them all with ice magic. The director leaves her office and kills all the attackers that appeared in her path, but soon afterwards a team of 3 wizards arrive to confront her. She recognizes them as the 3 Invincibles from the Pendragon community, asks when they allied with Ghost Trail. The 3 wizards, not willing to talk, immediately begin their plan to defeat her. The first man uses his staple gun to speed up the room in an airtight space, and the magic of the black Mamuka door does not work inside the sealed space. Then the second magician removes it from the room all the time, and when the director does not collapse due to lack of oxygen, she is shocked. The Mamuka stabs the ground with her sword and punches the barrier so that it returns to normal. She says that she discovered the weak point of their trick because they were underestimating her. As I said at the beginning, 30 years from experience, it turns out that she discovered that they can breathe without air, and this happens because they are in contact with each other, and the first door she created was to allow her to be in contact with them all the time. The Mamuka then creates a black hole which sucks them in and locks them in its basement. However, their fight is not over yet, as Violet from the Ghost trailer appears in front of her. She summons a demonic warrior using her cards and sends it to attack the Mamuka, and has a lot of difficulty dealing with this enemy. Then suddenly Violet cancels the demon and summons her dragon, and the Mamuka realizes that it cannot win against him. He attacks with his tail, and she tries to protect herself, but it's useless and she ends up being knocked out. On the other side of the screen, Takiex and Kurumi are looking for Gekko, who appears before them wearing the same red outfit as the attackers. The girl, she is relieved to see that he is safe, but the vision of Takiex's attack warns of danger. He confronts his brother, who curses his attack vision, saying that this is a magic exclusive to cowards who only know how to escape. He asks Takiex if he doesn't think it was very easy to be forgiven for his sins, and Takiex realizes that Gekko is working with a ghost trailer at the moment. He claims that he learned to use magic with the cap, and that he is now a loyal soldier under his command. Kurumi asks him to stop the madness and leaves the ghost trailer, but Gekko refuses, saying he likes being there, and thanks them for having used the power to get revenge on his brother for everything he did. So, the Gekko disappears and instantly appears behind the Takiex to attack him, but the Takiex blocks his attack. However, the Gekko disappears again and continues attacking him. Kurumi asks Gekko to stop hurting Takiex, but he is blind with anger and continues hitting Takiex. Gekko then tells them both about his magic, which allows him to teleport wherever he wants, and now he is testing his magic against his brother's attacking vision, and has just discovered that his magic is far superior. Gekko raises his sword, and Takiex tries to counterattack, but he had already teleported back, stabbing his shoulder. Kurumi runs and protects Takiex while crying and asking Gekko why he is doing this, because this enemy just there has to be a family affair. Damn author. And just following the script, Gekko says he is doing this to get revenge on his brother, who pushed him in front of a car. Now he received a teleportation spell, which was perfect compensation for his injured leg. Takiex stands up upon hearing this, and draws his sword while telling Kurumi to go back. He asks his brother if he will be satisfied by killing him, but Gekko responds that Leave was alive, but promises to take everything he likes, including his girlfriend and his sword. He uses a powerful magical spell to transform into a demon and create wings while his sword is covered in dark flames. The Gekko then accelerates and punches the Takiex in the gut. With this greater momentum, he continues to hit him from all sides, and then knocks him down with a powerful punch. Kurumi cries and runs towards Takiex again, and Gekko tells her to get away from him. When she doesn't obey, he pulls and kicks her brother away, but Kurumi frees herself and runs to her boyfriend. She kisses him, and through the lip balm, her magic is activated, transforming her into Takiex itself. Gekko becomes very jealous and forcibly separates her from his brother, and even hits her when she resists. Only then does he realize that she is still Kurumi about Takiex's appearance, and then he regrets having hit her, but that doesn't stop him from taking it away along with Takiex's sword. Now Takiex finds himself in a dark place, being inside his dreams, where he sees someone calling his name. There he receives a ball of energy, and so as he touches this ball, a bright flash of light shows him a prophecy in which he sees Gekko and his mother arguing, and Gekko attacks his mother. Takiex is devastated when he realizes that his crazy little brother is going to kill their mother, but that's not his only problem. Outside, Mu is trying to find Takiex, and she sees him unconscious with Violet by his side. You think the woman in the ghost trailer is the person who hit your boyfriend. The guy isn't even her boyfriend, he's crazy. Mu then points her gun at Violet, who quickly draws her cards to focus on a demonic beast which wields a whip. Oh, what a delight Mu would have on her, but her enemy is very fast and dodges the lightning bullet and then makes the fire bullet too, and using her summons as a distraction, Violet decides to take the Takiex as her new toy, but Mu runs to save him and jumps on the demonic nun, who catches her leg with the bullet whip and it's knocking down a floor. The girl lost her weapon and the nun is about to finish her off, but then 3 girls arrive to rescue her and quickly destroy the nun. They create a powerful cyclone that takes Violet away, and Mu quickly runs to Takiex. While the ghost trailer officer runs away, Mu wakes Takiex and he tells her that Gakko kidnapped Kurumi. The leader of the girls who just saved them goes to him and introduces herself as Ina, a 4th-year student at Japanese Hogwarts, being she and a member of the community called Camelot, who sells pirated DVDs. At that moment the knock arrives, as he was worried about his sister, but is relieved to see that his girlfriend, Ina, has everything under control here. Takiex struggles to get up, but he's really hurt and falls. Takiex says he needs to go to a doctor, and then his friends and take him to one, but the hospital where they're going to take him stays in the world of the living, while they take Mu and see the artifact that Kurumi left behind when she was kidnapped and pick it up. 3 days later Takiex wakes up in a hospital, with Mu taking care of him as his personal nurse. She cries, being relieved to see him well, and he wipes her tears. At that moment Ida enters the room, interrupting his moment, and hugs him. Pause as he tells about his tragedy. On the day of the attack, people from the inspection department took Futaba for an investigation, and when she tried to resist they attacked. Mu tells Takiex that the inspection department is a special sector with immensely powerful and talented magicians. However, they still haven't given any news about Ida's sister, and not even Suga could help them at the moment. Takiex comforts his friend, saying that it was better for Futaba to be somewhere far from the battlefield, but this reminds him that Kurumi was taken. Soon Suga and his girlfriend arrive, and Takiex finds out from them that the director Mumuka is missing, and most of the healthy students are gathering together as they prepare for war, but Suga wants Takiex to stay in his bed until he fully recovers. However, Takiex is impatient and asks if they have any information about Kurumi so he can go and save her, but Ida says that there are no clues and that they can't do anything at the moment. Mu thinks about magical item that Kurumi left behind, but she keeps it a secret from everyone. At night, Mu falls asleep next to Takiex, and he wakes up to go for a walk, and while thinking about his own sad situation, he finds Tsuga and this little person talking about him, and it turns out that Takiex is at Camelot headquarters, and this place is exclusively for women, so as soon as he gets better he has to get out of there. During the conversation, Tsuga says that he is still very weak, and asks that he be kept in that place, and if he returns to the wizard Bracy will definitely send you to the front lines of war. Tsuga's request is accepted, and after hearing all this, Takiex returns to his room, feeling more helpless than before, but he cheers up a little when he sees Mu. While resting in the hospital, the world of wizards began to change. At the headquarters of the ghost trailer, Kazuma gathered his army for war, and sent his most trusted friend Kappei to hunt down the great wizard called the Saberman. Kappei ends up being very successful in his mission, killing all the guards and injuring the Saberman, but he leaves him alive to explain his diabolical plan. It turns out that there is a spell called Jif from the old magical world that protects the world of the living from wizards, but if this Saberman died here, his spell will disappear, and they will be able to create a lot of cause and war among humans again. Kazuma intends to destroy Wizard Bracy and the 7 great communities there, so that they can create a new peaceful and harmonious world. But as soon as he finishes explaining his plan, Kappei kills the Saberman and a firework is released from his body, concluding that the Jif spell has been removed. Now the wizards can freely enter the world of the living and fight there, and that's exactly what they do. The wizards on both sides go to the living world and start fighting in the air, leaving the ordinary humans in disbelief. Their fight destroys buildings and kills many people, and Takiex soon finds out about this. He is shocked, and the prophecy about Geico killing his mother appears in his mind again, so he asks Suga and his companion to let him go home, and they accept after a slight discussion. At their home, Yoko, the Takiex mother, noticed the start of the war and is upset about it, and when the Takiex arrives with company, Yoko is relieved at the fleece, but the trauma of the past is still present among them. Yoko ends up receiving a letter from her former leader, who formally asks her to train the Takiex. The 2 boys are shocked, but Yoko responds that she is no longer a magician and that her job is not to fight in their war. However, a whole discussion about what is right and what is wrong to do happens. As Takie's mother, Yoko comes to the conclusion that it is better to train the boy himself, and while looking at the letter she received, she finds a ring inside of hers, and this ring makes her accept the request to practice Takiex. She takes Takiex to the training room, and when he asks how an old woman like her can teach him if she can't even use magic, she shows him the power of the ring that allows her to temporarily use magic. She then asks to your son if he wants to grow up to save Kurumi, or if he wants to defeat the ghost trailer, but Takiex says he doesn't want to fight in the war. He doesn't understand which side is right, but says he will fight to protect his friends. His mother understands his determination and begins his training by asking him to show how much magic he can use. She is not impressed with his magic and decides to train him in the most severe way possible. The Takiex has his eyes blindfolded and tries to fight his mother using a bamboo sword, but it hits him everywhere, leaving his body completely sore. Gradually the situation improves thanks to training with his mother. However, he doesn't know that his mother isn't feeling very well, as the ring she is wearing uses her life force to create magic. In short, she is risking her own life to prepare his son for war. A few days later, Takiex meets Mui, who asks how his training is going. They have some good conversations before Takiex starts worrying about Kurumi again, and Mui finally gives her the artifact she found the day she was kidnapped. She says that this is a mask tool used to teleport mages to predestined locations, and says that this could lead them to Kurumi. Takiex is surprised and asks why she didn't say anything about it before, and Mui responds by saying that he would definitely kill himself after seeing this. Now that his training is complete, she believes that he is capable of saving Kurumi. The Takiex thanks her and promises that he will finish his training first, and then Mui apologizes again because she believes that it is her fault for him having turned into a wizard. She cries, but Takiex says it's his fault for being too weak, and he thanks her saying saying that she supported him in all his moments. Meanwhile, Kurumi has been unconscious all this time in the headquarters of the ghost trailer. There she has a nightmare in which the Takit is dead next to her. She wakes up terrified from a dream and sees herself in a strange room. She looks at the spiritist and is even more shocked to see that she looks like a Takit. As she wonders what is happening to her, the Gekko comes to see him, and she remembers him beating the Takit and how she turned into the Takit itself after kissing. Unfortunately, she wakes up her lips and the magic disappears with her lip balm, and she wonders when she got this new power. And Gekko says that she is prettier now and that he loves her like this. Kurumi is horrified and says that he doesn't love her and that he only wants to steal from him because he is jealous of him. She says that neither she nor the sword belong to Gekko. Becoming very furious and in a moment of breach, Kurumi runs away while he chases her. She has no idea where she is, but then she comes across Waigami. He is surprised when see him and then asks what she is doing at the ghost trailer headquarters. Kurumi is shocked to see him too, but still trusts him enough to ask for help. She says she wants to escape Gekko and this place, and Waigami takes her to his room where he says that his original memories have returned, but he still remembers all her time with him and the others. So the annoying girl from his group Haruka opens the door and Waigami is thrown onto Kurumi in a risky position. Haruka asks him when he gets a girlfriend, and they both scold her saying that this wasn't the case. Kurumi asks the two to help again, and after a long conversation, Haruka decides to cooperate with them. As she is very angry with Gekko who stole her place, they take her out of the room. They say that the castle was created by magic and that it is just like the dormitories in the Japanese castle. This place constantly changes its layout. They took Kurumi to the gate, but they noticed that the Gekko was coming towards them, and the girl hid while Waigami attacked him, and being a veteran pervert, the Gekko identifies Kurumi by a glimpse of her back and starts walking towards her. Harutaro suggests that she transform into her skin. Then Kurumi applies her lip balm and receives a passionate kiss from Harutaro and transforms into her. The original Harutaro runs away, and the Gekko doesn't recognize the transformed Kurumi and moves on, but Waigami recognizes it and tries to help. Outside they come across a guy who wants to talk to Waigami and takes him away, leaving Kurumi alone. She still tries to find a way out of the castle and runs to find a way out, but the place is a maze and she soon gets tired. She hasn't found anything yet, but when she wipes the sore from her lips, the magic goes away and she returns to normal. Kurumi is anxious and scared, but decides to keep walking and finds a dark corridor. As soon as she enters, the door closes behind her and a man approaches. Initially she is scared, but when he offers his hand she takes it and he transforms a giant mirror in a portal and they enter it. Kurumi is surprised to find herself in an office and is terrified to know that the man in front of her is an infamous terrorist Kazuma, but he has no intention of hurting her. Back at home, Takes became much stronger and his mother decided to teach him a very powerful spell. She creates a landmark circle and asks Takes to concentrate on it. Takes follows her instructions and starts to float. Yoko looks at he, remembers the good old times when they were a happy family, and she finishes training to deal with her nostalgia. Before leaving, Takes asks why she never told him about the magic, and it is at that moment that Yoko realizes that she was a shitty mother as she never shared anything with her children. Suddenly she faints and Takes is safe. At that moment she tries to tell him something important, but he asks her to rest right now. Later that day, Takes thinks he is strong enough to rescue Kurumi, and when he is thinking about rescuing her, Muyu and Ida arrive and tell him that he is not going alone. They are ready to support him, and the Takes presses the button on the magical device, which teleports them to the ghost trailer headquarters. They emerge from a mirror into a dark hall, where Oigami and Ruta are already there to greet them. Oigami asks Takes why he has such a magical artifact, which had been given to Kurumi, and Takes becomes furious, demanding to know where his girlfriend, Oigami, and Tataka Takes, challenging him to win if he wants answers. Takes blocks his attack using a spare sword, dodges his attacks with his attack vision. Ida and Mui want to help him, but Rotaru pulls an injection and says they will have to face her. Oigami uses release and increases his power to dominate Takes and throw him to the ground, and he shoots a mask bullet against him and then gives the final blow. Takes blocks it with his shield, which has a repulsion effect, and Oigami starts to have fun with the fight. In the second battle, Rotaru is at a disadvantage and increases his power level to defeat them, but Ida says that he was holding back because he didn't want to beat up a girl, but since she wants to appeal he will go into sexist mode, having said that he fires a fire bullet at Rotaru and breaks her injection, and she curses him. However, he ends it all by headbutting her to leave her unconscious. Mui supports Takes and shoots Oigami, who attacks in return, and taking advantage of this chance, Takes recites his spell and completes it by casting the spell at the moment when Oigami attacks him. He releases the time of his sword and dodges all of his enemies' attacks with ease. Oigami also uses sword momentum and pushes Takes back, who asks Mui to help him. While he gives him the signal, Takes attacks Oigami, but his heavy shield deflects and breaks his sword. Takes attacks him again and asks for Mui's support. She complies, and he times his attack with a bullet and uses a second type of magic on her other eye. Oigami's heavy split do shield combo attack, defeating him. Takes then tells him that he is much stronger now and that he can see much further into the future, therefore it will be a wise decision to exist. Oigami accepts his defeat, and Ida takes Rotaru there too. They tell Takes and his group everything that happened between them and Kurumi, but they have no clue as to where she should be now. Takes' attack vision tells him that they are telling the truth, and he thanks them for trying to help Kurumi. However, as they are unable to locate Kurumi now, he realizes that the mission is over. Which he didn't know is that Kurumi was in a bad mood, that she was telling him secrets that no one but him knows. Takes arrives home and has the unsettling feeling that something bad is about to happen. As soon as he arrives at the gate, he sees Gaku leaving the house and he is stained with blood. Takes looks dead when he remembers from the dream that your brother killed your mother and wonder what Gaku did. He replies that it is Yoku. He attacked him first and he just slashed in self-defense. Then Takes loses his head and draws his sword, telling his brother to get out out of his way. Gaku laughs at him and asks him not to get involved. Worry so much because she is not dead yet. At that moment Takes realizes that he is holding the Eternal and his sword seems to have been distorted by the darkness of his brother's personality. After fixing this, Gaku licks the sword saying that he is going to test it on him. Takes is furious, but now Gaku has decided that he will torment him some more and orders the sword to transform into its human form. When the Takes sees the Eternal chain and he feels bad for her, saying he doesn't have time for that, as she obeys Gaku's command to attack him. Takes begs her to stop, but she is completely emotionless and attacks him. He takes his sword and is about to deal a deadly blow, but Gaku stops her and turns it back into a sword. He wants to kill his brother, but before that he wants to tell a terrible family secret. Gaku tells Takes that it was 3 years ago. The accident that happened to him was not Takes' fault. They both thought that Takes had pushed him in front of the car, but that wasn't the case. It was the truth. In fact, it was their mother's fault, as she asked the leader of Camelot to kill her youngest son. However, she failed, and when she learned that he would be limping for the rest of his life, she was unable to harm him again. Takes can't believe this and accuses Gaku of lying, but he says he found out after beating up Gaku. Their mother, she was doing this because of a vision of the future in which Gaku would become a horrible monster, and she wanted to prevent that from happening by killing him instead of educating him. Takes is shocked to learn this and grabs his sword while cursing his brother. Gaku is furious with his complaints and shows him his power by destroying the neighborhood. He tells Takes that they must resolve their fight once and for all. It is at this moment that Takes realizes that Gaku is no longer the person he knew and that now it is time to stop him from hurting other people. The two brothers transform and Gaku creates his demonic wings and his sword is covered with her dark magic. And Takes uses his new transformation thought up in just a frame of a second by the crazy author of this work. Gaku teleports and attacks him, but this time Takes is fast enough to predict his movements and block them. They take the fight to the sky, where Takes predicts all of his brother's movements, reading the story script and dodges them. He strikes Gaku and Fairy, and then reaches the place where he is going to teleport right before him to deliver a fatal blow. However, lightning separates the moment they are trapped and they collide. Takes looks up and sees that a cool bunch of people are fighting each other up there. Very crazy. This being a great idea, fighting and destroying the only prosperous place they have, and as always there are people wanting to go help Takes, but Suga tells him to maintain formation and leave the battle to himself. On the other side, Tello, Hupei is leading a group of from the ghost trailer, and lovingly orders them to kill everyone. The battle between the two groups begins, and when Ida and Amui are fighting, Kurumi is there too, trying to find Takes. Below the large-scale battle, Gaku and Takes continue their fight, with the first son becoming faster and more reckless, but he still finds himself unable to penetrate Takes' guard. As the fight goes on, they both become exhausted, and then Gaku loses control. He says he doesn't know what else it's right and what's wrong, and you feel lost. He wants Takes to kill him because he will never be forgiven for attacking his mother, and says he has no place to call Lara now. Takes tells him to leave the ghost trailer and go back to his family, because then they will sort things out. He deactivates his attack vision and extends his hand for his brother's friendship. The Gaku still hesitant and approaches slowly. However, it is still possible to see that his sword is filled with a threatening energy. Kurumi sees them when they are ready to shake hands and shouts for Takes to move away, but it is too late. As soon as Gaku grabs Takes' hand, his brother, he reveals that he has resistance to the hero's speech and calls his brother a fool, but Kurumi runs to be next to him and hugs him, sacrificing herself to protect him. Gaku is shocked that he stabbed his crush, and Takes is devastated as he tries to comfort Kurumi, who is now terribly injured. He abandons the fight and starts to focus on Kurumi. Luckily Tsuga arrives, covering his back, so Takes asks him to take care of her while he finishes the fight. Now overcome by anger, the script allows Takes to use overwhelming power against his brother, who still states that it's not his fault that the girl jumps in front of his blow, all sickly retarded. But Takes can't contain himself and launches a barrage of attacks against his brother and pushes him back. He completely dominates Gaku and knocks him to the ground. Once this is done, Takes laughs alongside him and says it's time to